Tomorrow is the first test of the 2024 election cycle. The Iowa caucuses will be an early measure of what voters think about the GOP field of presidential hopefuls. An NBC poll shows former President Trump continues to maintain a dominant lead. Our Conan Nolan is on the frozen ground in Iowa tonight, braving the cold for all of us. Conan, I just checked. Oh, you're inside. It's 14 below outside.
Right. There's an NBC policy about employees freezing to death outside in a live shot for a newscast. But in any case, to your point, Colleen, yes, this is Donald Trump's to lose. He's going to win tomorrow. There's no question about that. The real question is, who will get a ticket out of Iowa? Who will live to fight another day? And with entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy polling routinely in the single digits, that question is down to the former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, and the current governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
It has no allegiance, doesn't care who wins or loses, has no campaign organization, and doesn't vote, much less caucus. But Mother Nature, with her minus 40-degree wind chill factor, has crashed the kickoff of the 2024 presidential election. And that has the candidates nervous and cold.
You can't sit home. If you're sick as a dog, you say, darling, I got to make it. Even if you vote and then pass away, it's worth it, remember?
Donald Trump is expected to win by a wide margin, but to do that, he needs his largely rural, evangelical, and older supporters to make the drive Monday night to a caucus site, a gymnasium or school, amidst death-defying conditions. The Des Moines Register NBC News poll has Mr. Trump just under 50% support among Iowa Republican voters. That would be a record victory. His closest rival, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, is banking on a big turnout of suburban anti-Trump Republicans around cities. Des Moines, Sioux City, Ames. Mark Murray is the political director for NBC News.
Nikki Haley, half of her supporters are either independents or Democrats, which makes her stand out much differently than Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis in this contest.
A third-place finish for Ron DeSantis would be a rejection of his effort to be the Trump alternative to Trump loyalists.
He has the endorsement of the state's sitting governor, Kim Reynolds. He spent so much time with all to 1990 counties. Third-place finish would be detrimental to his campaign.
Last night we had more people than Donald Trump had at his rally.
In fact, Iowa is also where dreams go to die. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson insists he's not going anywhere, which is true. He's been stuck at 1%, still clinging to a Republican Party, which in these parts at least doesn't exist anymore.
Well, Donald Trump has changed the Republican Party. He's made it more about himself versus principle. And I do want to see the Republican Party stand for something.
The polling and punditry now about to give way to actual ballots to be cast in the cold, forbidden tundra of a plain state with a legendary presidential status in who stays in the hunt and who packs it up and goes home.
That NBC News poll indicates that overwhelmingly Donald Trump supporters say they are committed to showing up regardless of the weather. The Trump campaign is hoping that's the case. They are well organized, by the way, far better than they were in 2016 when they lost the state to Ted Cruz. And they're bringing in surrogates tomorrow, as well as the Democrats, who are bringing in Jeffrey Katzenberg, the movie studio mogul, to talk about the importance of Joe Biden being reelected. I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News from Des Moines. Back to you.
Conan, do we know what's on the schedule for the candidates tomorrow?
Right. Well, to that point, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's coming out for Donald Trump. Carrie Lake, the former candidate for Arizona governor, who contends that she won that race and that she's cheated out of it. She's going to be here. Both of them, I think, would like to be Donald Trump's running mates. So he's bringing in the surrogates as well as the other candidates' full schedule. Remember, the caucuses start at 7 o'clock local time, 5 o'clock Pacific, and it's all about getting their people to those caucus sites. And remember, as I mentioned, in rural counties, you may not be close to a gymnasium or a school or a library. You may have to drive 20, 30, or 40 minutes. In this kind of temperature and this kind of weather, some are concerned on Tuesday we may have some cases of people having some real problems getting to the caucus sites tomorrow.
Well, Conan, you've been talking to people this weekend there. We know it's cold there. You've been out in the cold all day, but this is Iowa. They are hardy souls. So do you really think weather is going to come into play?
Well, there's two schools of thoughts about that. Yeah, plenty of people say, hey, I'll put on a windbreaker. This is Iowa. But I have been coming to the caucus site here in Des Moines since '96. This is the coldest by far it has ever been. And remember, just out in the streets today, there's just no activity, just none. Everything's indoors because of these chill factors. And if you have an older constituency, as Donald Trump seems to have, that plays a factor today than it may not have been if they had been in their younger years. I might also say, though, that the Trump campaign boasts the fact that they believe they will have a tremendous number of first-time caucus goers. Their enthusiasm, to your point, Colleen, will drive them to the polls, or the caucus sites, I should say, regardless of the weather.
Looking ahead here, how could the results in Iowa potentially impact what's going to happen in the New Hampshire primary?
For Nikki Haley, the New Hampshire Republicans are far more her crowd. They're very different, though, these two states. The Republican voters, mostly in Iowa, are rural and evangelical. They didn't believe in 2016 that Donald Trump was their candidate. Ted Cruz was the evangelical candidate. That is flipped. They now believe, in many respects, that they believe Donald Trump is a godly man. And that's one of the reasons they will turn out for him on caucus night. In New Hampshire, it's more of a libertarian republicanism. She's polling much better there. With Chris Christie out of the race, she could get the lion's share of his votes and actually possibly win. And that's the key. If Donald Trump runs the table in Iowa and New Hampshire, it's over. But if Nikki Haley is able to win in New Hampshire, and she has a shot at that, then she could be the alternative candidate. And one other thing to look out for tomorrow, I should say, Colleen, is if Donald Trump makes it past 50%, because if he hits 45% or below that, she could make the argument that a majority of Republicans, even in Iowa, didn't want him to be the nominee. It's a talking point, but she's looking for anything to get her some big momentum coming out of this state and going into Iowa and then later her home state of South Carolina.
All right, our Conan Nolan reporting from inside in Des Moines, but he still has to go outside where it is 14 below, and that's without the wind chill. Conan, thank you.